pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
School boards and budgets. Did I print it? Yes, I did. You will be happy to know that we are part of the Marcus Whitman website. Did anybody see that when I sent it out in the email?
Yeah.
We rattled some cages when I told them that we were going to be looking at the school boards. And one of the things that I found out, I spoke with the superintendent of Marcus Whitman, and he was very, very cordial. It was not an antagonistic conversation by any means. He certainly wanted input. He just told me, which is what we found out with the Yates County Legislature, is that we're a little late. Because as we found out at the budget hearings, I don't know how many of you were at the budget hearings, I spoke a couple of times at the budget hearing for the county legislatures, that when it comes to the public hearing, it's pretty much a done deal. And we need to get involved in it when it's in these committee meetings and in these workshops, as Pat and Mark tried to express and needed more people and more involvement. And that's what it seems to be with these school board budgets. A lot of these things, they're doing workshops, they have to set things all out, and I'm going to turn this over to you in just a second to explain. That's one thing, it was a learning experience with Yates County. I know I expressed it today in my interview, and I've expressed it a couple of times. I know I expressed it with Pete Haight on the air, that we weren't real happy campers, that after all the members of the public, and I didn't hear anybody, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, any member of the public there that was in favor of the tax rates. Everybody was against it and felt the legislature should turn and look and try to come up with a mere 2.3% to cut this budget to prevent raising the taxes. And yet, with the exception of Pat Galvin, Mark Morris, and Leslie Church, who voted against it, they passed the budget. So it was a done deal.
Well, as many of you know, I'm on the Penn Yan School Board. I'm Mike Van Hormer. And you're right, by the time the public hearing comes along, it's too late to really make much change in anything. I mean, basically you're being told what the decisions have been by the board and the district, and it's too late to make any major changes in that. All districts are starting to talk about their budgets right now, and they're guessing right now at what kind of state reimbursement there would be, because they don't know. And so they're estimating what kind of losses they will have this year. Most districts in New York right now are figuring out how many layoffs there's going to be. They're also, if they're dealing with a contract this year, having to figure that into the mix with new teacher contracts and things like that. In Penn Yan, for example, contracts are up, and there's a choice between either establishing a new contract or trying to roll over into an extension for 1 year. And you know, I can't, because contracts are executive session type issues and negotiations, I can't get too specific, but the options typically, not just here, but the options include a decision as to whether or not to ask teachers to, for example, freeze their pay for a year and start contributing more towards their health insurance. That's what Chris Christie in New Jersey wanted to do. The teachers union there said, through you, we're not going to do anything, and then they blamed him for laying off 10,000 teachers. And he explained to Chris Wallace a couple weeks ago, that wasn't his decision, that was the union's decision. And that's where boards have to put the emphasis back to the unions, and that is, here's your choice: we freeze pay, or we, minimal increase, or whatever it is, because a lot of these districts around here, they're averaging 2.75 to 4% increases per year in this economy, and it's nuts. And people aren't doing that. So some districts around the state have gotten accommodations from their local unions. Others, not so much. And so, they do have the opportunity to turn to the local unions and say, look, here's what we do with the budget the way it is. If you freeze the pay, and you take these, accommodations to your benefit program, then we'll have this many layoffs to meet the budget. There's going to be layoffs one way or the other. If you decide not to freeze the pay, those layoffs grow. That's your decision. How many of your fellow workers do you want to kick out of the workplace because you're not willing to freeze your pay for a year? And a lot of districts, and we've had this discussion in our district, want to start at 2% or 3% or some. And there's a couple of us on the board that say, wait a minute, that's not where you start. You start at 0. And you let them help determine what direction you're going to go in there as far as layoffs. So that's essentially where it is. But again, those discussions are being had right now in executive sessions, and in the board meetings, you'll have the financial officers of the district standing up there explaining what their, well, like we did at our last meeting here in Penn Yan, Doug explained kind of what the expectations are for reimbursements this year, what our enrollments are. Penn Yan, the enrollments have dropped drastically over the last 5 years.
Pat, the entire county legislature, correct?
Correct.
Is up this year for election. And that'll be one of the things that we're going to need to be looking at, encouraging people to run, giving people the place to be vetted, as Andrea says. We need to vet these people. We need to encourage people and help them to get their names out, to let people know where they stand on issues. And that's what our Meet the Candidates are all about. I think we had several very successful ones last year, and I know we can continue to do that. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at. Pat.
There's going to be a village special election, not special, but
yes,
a village
I
election
something else.
for the seat that Christine Christensen has. As far as I know, she's the only candidate that's actually active right now. Maybe there's others, but petitions got to be submitted by February 4th. So time is short if anyone lives in the village and wants to run for village trustee position.
And she's currently running unopposed to
As
the
far as
best
I
of
know,
your knowledge.
as far as I know, yes. Because we know we need to have some competition. Some
When
ideas
is,
and
when is the election?
March 17th, March, right that area.
Okay.
Time is short, but there's still a local window. That'll be anyone that's in the village. There are no parties. You can run, basically, you pick your own party name, run a petition, get 40 or 50 signatures, and you're on the ballot. So if anyone lives in the village, that's about the only requirement. If you're 18, live in the village. I was a trustee for 4 years, and it's a great experience, a lot to learn, a lot involved, and a lot of responsibility for day-to-day living in the village of Penn Yan. There's a lot at stake, and have great influence.
Well, perhaps we should ask her to come before our February meeting and talk to us.
It'd be a great idea. Of course, she's unopposed.
Yeah, but even
Good
so,
information,
she can still give us information about it.
If you know
Yay,
anybody,
nay? Yes or no? You want to talk to her now? I mean, this isn't my group.
Good luck to
Yes.
anybody.
Yay.